Yo, what is up guys? Nick Nakai here, Let's Drift Media. Thank you for coming back to the channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome on in. So on today's episode, we are going to be playing around with the Bestarc 50 amp plasma cutter. They were nice enough to send it out to me, and on top of that, stay tuned for this video because I'm going to be giving away one just like this to one of you guys for dropping a comment. So let's get started. Alright, so this is pretty much what you get out of the box. I mean, I have everything plugged in, you can tell, but one thing I would like to point out that is super cool about this that you guys would probably find useful is you can run on 220 volt, or it comes with an adapter, so you can run on regular 110 volt. So I feel like that's a big seller right there because not a lot of people have 220 in their garage, but go ahead and talk about that a little bit more coming up. You can see we have our ground cable right here. Decent construction, pretty strong string clamp, nothing really too crazy, too fancy. Have our torch right here. You can see I've been using it a little bit. Have our trigger guard, that way you don't accidentally hit the trigger. And we have our little protector, that way you don't get too close to the object you're cutting and mess up the tip or the nozzle. See, we just got some simple plugins right here. Wire it all up. We got a nice little fancy display screen. Coming to the back, we have our on-off switch, have our power supply, and we have our air in. So that's pretty much it. It kind of looks a little similar to my welder or any small household welder, but nice, not too big, and this thing is pretty powerful, guys. So price on this bad boy is only 250 bucks on Amazon. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description so you guys can see more of the technical stats, stuff like that, if you guys are into that. But one thing I did want to point out, if you are going to be running on 110, make sure you have a 40 amp circuit breaker hooked up to whatever circuit you're running it on. Because I'll show you guys a clip. I was cutting the subframe on my S14 and it kept popping the breaker and I was like, dude, what the heck? It was supposed to run on 110. But if you are going to run on 110, it needs to be on a dedicated 40 amp circuit. So just a heads up guys, don't be like me. But I ended up getting 220 installed with a 40 amp breaker. So this will come in handy later on, but did kind of suck that I didn't have a 30 amp circuit, but just want to give you guys a warning so you don't run into the same situation I ran into and you guys can be satisfied with this tool. If you are running on 110, this machine is supposed to be able to cut up to 12 millimeter thickness material, or if you are running on the 220, it should be able to cut up to 16 millimeter thickness. So I have a couple pieces of scrap metal. This is 1/8 inch thick steel I was using for a little project on my subframe. We got some pretty beefy 1/4 inch steel right here. It's kind of my little weld practice piece of sheet metal I got. And here's my subframe that I partially cut with it and modified, but ended up having to use a grinder since I was having that problem. So we're not really gonna mess with this. But yeah, just got some random metal. Let's go ahead and get to cutting. Now for the giveaway, if you want to win one of these, drop a comment what you would be using this on. Let me know what type of projects, stuff around the house that this would be come in handy for you, and randomly select a winner and send one out to you free of charge. All right, so we got the air line hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead, come back here, hit the power on switch. Can hear it booting up, fairly quiet. We have our air pressure regulator right here. We have our dial for the amperage, how high you want to run. I'm just gonna try it at 40. We're gonna start with that skinny piece of metal, so we shouldn't need too much. See right here, you have a cut and an air mode. If I could get it to focus. When you put it on the air mode, it's to set your working pressure. You can see it drops down a little bit because once you hit the trigger, you're going to lose some air. So we are going to kind of turn that up a little bit. And if the, oh, close one guys. I'm going to go ahead and set this down on the ground, but you can see also pretty decent size torch length. That's probably 12 feet, something like that. Enough for this single 2-car garage. Nothing too crazy in here. Coming over here, you have the 2T and the 4T. So basically on the 2T, with the trigger, you have to hold it the entire duration you want to use the tool. Whereas when you put it in the 4T, you click it once and it'll keep cutting until you click the trigger again. And coming to this setting, we have our post air time and our pilot arc time. So I'm just gonna leave those on whatever it came with. Again, this is my first plasma cutter, so I'm not too familiar with these machines, but we're just gonna play around with it. So starting with that piece of metal, go ahead and hook up this ground clamp to it and get to cutting. Anytime you are doing anything like this, make sure you have your proper PPEs, guys. Pretty similar to welding equipment from the looks of what I've seen. Got our gloves. You can wear a long sleeve shirt if you want. Probably the welding helmet, but let's get to cutting. Let's try this bad boy out. All right, so you cut that off pretty nice and easy. Probably maybe could have slowed down a little bit, but so this is the end right now that I just cut. You guys can see pretty decent cut. I mean, obviously you'd have to smooth it out after, but that was a hell of a lot quicker than using a grinder, but a little bit harder to get a straight line, but that could be user issue, not the machine itself. But pretty cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and play around with it some more. Now let's go ahead and try it on this 1/4-inch piece of steel. You can see right there. I mean, it claims up to 16 millimeters, which is a pretty big piece of material. I don't think I'll ever be cutting more than 1/4 inch. Wow. That is pretty fast for this thick steel. Alrighty, well, wow. That cut through that stuff like nothing. That one was actually a pretty clean cut. Obviously, once I put the ground on, it was able to cut. At first, I was wondering what was going on, but that is very insane. Hell of a lot easier than cutting it with the grinder. For say you ever had to mess with something this thick. I myself don't see a time where I'm going to need to be cutting something this thick, but it is nice to know that you can cut through that no problem, and even thicker. This is only 1/4 inch. You'll go up even higher if you wanted to. But overall, not bad for someone who has no experience with this, just kind of a DIYer when it comes to projects like this with fabrication. This thing is pretty freaking cool for the price. All right, well, just for fun, went ahead and just chopped my old connecting rod just to see if it will do it. Try to cut up this old piston, and it is just crazy. A little ugly, of course, but this thing can cut, guys. Jesus. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the Bestarc BTC 5000 DP plasma cutter on 220. This thing slaps, guys. Highly recommend it. Thank you guys so much for sending it to me. Thank you guys always for watching my videos. Don't forget to enter that giveaway if you want to win one of these free of charge. But that's all I got for you guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!